Hi, I'm Armando. It's just me today, here with Pendley's Plentiful Pets, Arizona Fish Rescue based in Kingman, Arizona. Just doing a little bit of maintenance type things today. I'm going to do the 50% water change on this, take out some of the leaves with a little bit of hair algae, a little bit of staghorn algae. I'm going to take some of this Eliocaris grass, also known as dwarf hair grass. I'm going to break it up a little bit more to get more planting points so it feels a little bit better.
Mike.
I'm going to pull out some hair algae from some other tanks. Just see what needs done around here, and I figured I'd take you guys with me. Thank you.
So what are we doing, Armando?
Like I said in the intro, we're just taking some of these Java Fern Window leaves with some of this hair algae and staghorn algae on the tips, and we're just going to yank those out of there to prohibit spread as much as possible. There's some jungle val leaves in the back that need clipped because of the same reason, and we're going to fully plant this, I think it's called a red flame sword we have in the bag. It's not fully planted. The roots are reaching down, but it's just not all the way down in the substrate.
Popped out.
And yeah, and then we're gonna take this hair grass and we're just gonna split it up a bit more, and like a big bunch like this can probably split up into 4 or 5 different bunches. We're just gonna plant it all along the foreground, so when it starts to spread and carpet, we get a denser look faster. And that's what we're doing for this tank. Also, just a standard 50% water change because this is still the first week this tank is up, and we're doing a daily 50% water change because this aqua soil right here is leaching nutrients and ammonia. And if you just don't do water changes and export a bunch of those nutrients, this brown algae that's happening, also the staghorn algae, will have the optimum conditions to take off. So we're just going to try and limit the amount of free-floating nutrients in the water that are being shed from this newly flooded aqua soil. And yeah, but so all this brown algae right here is normal. It's part of the ugly phase in a planted tank. Just the tank just needs to find balance between light and nutrients, so that way it gives the plants the optimum point to grow instead of the algae, because algae will grow on a lot more unfavorable conditions versus plants. You have to really cater to the conditions that plants love, so that way they can outcompete the algae and you can have a nicely planted aquascape. So that's what we're doing in this tank today. Just some simple maintenance, nothing big. Then we're going to go around to some other tanks and just see what needs done. All right, so let's get clipping. So right now we're just gonna pinpoint which leaves have that staghorn algae that needs gotten rid of, and it's mainly just this one. So we're just gonna clip that back as far as we can. I'm just gonna take it out. That's it. Just gonna take it out, discard it into a trash can. And the same with this other jungle val leaf. I'm gonna bring this light forward so that way I can reach back here. We're gonna trace that leaf back as far down as we can. And we're just gonna do the same thing. And yank it out. Use my hands. And there honestly might be the only 2 things that really need it like that. I think there's one more jungle val leaf that's gonna need it. Alright. This tank is doing phenomenally well for how long it's been up. Just a little bit of diatom bloom, which is brown algae. And other than that, that's it. The plants are starting to pick up a little bit of growth. These baby cryptocorn are starting to pick up some growth. These anubias are putting out new leaves. Some anubias don't take well to new tanks. Like some of these leaves look a little jagged and ragged. Sometimes they just don't move well. They might melt back, but ultimately they'll always grow back. Like all these anubias are growing new leaves. Some of them already have some new leaves up. And yeah, we have some mono strip in here to control it. I might honestly add a couple of more. And I might add a platy also, because platies help munch on staghorn algae and black-beard algae, hair algae, and diatoms. They just help graze on it, as well as they don't really pose harm to any plants. They don't eat plants. They do like algae, though. Alright, so now I'm going to go grab a bucket so I can do this 50% change. Be right back. So do your nails. Oh shit, I don't know how to do nails. Alright, I'm back with the bucket. I'm grabbing some tubing now, so that way we can get this moving. Let's see. Where is some tubing? Oop, just move the tripod. Let's get that back. Alright. Here's my tubing. Okay. And so, all we do is stick the tubing in here, put a little bit of water, get it draining. We're just going to drain it down about halfway. Tank is only 5 gallons, so it should go fast. See if we can get any of that. All right. Well, the lid on the bucket started to close, so we're gonna pause that for a second. All right, now we're back. We're at 30% now. All right, it's about halfway. Then we're simply going to replant that sword I was talking about. Then we're gonna get it full again. All right, some tweezers. Let's move this to the front so I can actually get some reach back here. Then we're going to just simply come back here, grab the base stem of the sword, and shove it back in the substrate. And that's it. Alright, now we're going to grab this grass up front, split it up a little bit more. Let me clear off a spot right here below the tank so I can have a spot to work with. I don't need much room, just a little bit. Alright, I'm going to come here. And we're going to grab these bushels of grass. We're going to pull them out. Set them right down here. I think that one's fine. Mainly just these two. Well, we could do this one too. It'll be alright. I don't know if you guys can see it on camera, but these little chunky bits right here, these are just what they grow tissue culture aqua plants in. It's basically like an agar. It's very nutrient dense. The roots can grow in, and it helps plants grow fast for plant wholesalers. It changed the aquarium plant game incredibly when tissue culture plants came about. We're just gonna get those aqua soil balls off of there. Put them back up in there. We're just gonna split the grass. And just like that, we have a bushel of grass, and we are just going to take the roots, base of the plant, and we're going to split it. Now we have two planted bunches. We could probably split this up into two in itself. So now that you have, from that one bunch of plants, we now have 4 planting points, and those will carpet out as usual. As long as there's a root system, they will all carpet out. And do the same with other bushels. Just keep doing that and keep splitting them. Make sure there's a root system attached. So if there's not a root system, they won't take root and they won't start to spread. Because you can't just grow a lawn of grass. Hi, Freya. Alright, and then we're just going to keep doing the same with each bushel of plants. Just going to keep ripping them at the stem. Well, not really the stem, but just the root system. And then you're going to get some free-floating pieces of grass. That's alright. As long as there's a root system that holds most of the grass, we're just going to keep splitting that up. Keep on doing that until we have as many as we need. You really don't need big bushels of grass to get a thick carpet. You really want, if you want the carpet to fill in faster, you just want a bunch of planting points, really. And just keep tearing it at the stem, and that's about good. From those 4, we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I have 16 pieces of plants now. And then you simply just grab it by the roots and do the same. We just go in reverse. Now we just put it back in the aquascape. Plant it back in the aqua soil. I'm sorry, this light's a little in the way. We'll just need to move it. Alright. Just throw it right back on in there. Alright, boom. Just take another. We just plant it up in there. Real simple. Just a little bit of a hack to get a denser carpet going faster. And there's no CO2 running on this tank. There's a pretty high intensity light running on here, so it's not going to take forever to fill out, but it would definitely fill out better with CO2. But we're not looking to completely flood the scape with more plants than we can handle. CO2 on a 5-gallon tank is a little intense. It's not undoable, but it's just a little intense. And I'm only here once a week, so I'm just going to keep going, keep planting these grasses. So there's less space between all of them than before. That will help carpet, because once they take hold, they send out runners. Just like a dwarf Sagittaria or a jungle valve, they send out runners and they grow new ones. And then that's how you get a carpet, just like real grass outside. It grows exactly the same. You plant it, and eventually, once it takes root and gets settled in, it's going to spread. And you can plant it pretty deep. It helps to plant it a little deep, so that way, as long as there's enough of the grass actual like leaf structure to capture some light to photosynthesize, it will spread and it'll start to fill in when it's nice and ready. So don't worry about planting this stuff too deep. As long as there's any sticking up, it'll be just fine. If you completely bury it, I can't promise it'll work, but it'll probably still take root. It just might take longer. So I just plant it pretty deep because aqua soil is very light and plants like to float up from it when they get the chance. So I'm just planting it pretty deep, as long as there's some. As long as there's some sticking out to photosynthesize light, to grow roots, to grow runners, that's the goal. I'm sorry if I'm going a little fast, I just don't want any of this grass to dry out on the table below me. It doesn't even have to look good. It just needs enough to take root and take hold and begin to grow. No Aquascape really looks good in the beginning. Like it's gonna look good, but it's not gonna give that aged and matured look like most people look for when they start scaping. Now let's hope these mono shrimp don't yank it out. Hey man, can I get that throw hose?
Yes, I can take care of that for you.
Alright, and that is dwarf hairgrass planted. Just move this crypt leaf to the back so it's not in the way. Alright, there. This dwarf hairgrass does like light. I'm just moving some of these aqua soil balls off of the S rippins, and boom. We already have somewhat of the carpeted look, and as soon as it starts to send out runners, it'll fill out even more. And boom.
Oh wow, that looks really nice.
Yeah, and then
so much nicer than what I did. This Armando guy. Yeah, hold it there you go. Turn it on.
Trickle, trickle. That's it. Oh yeah, now we're just filling.
It's going as slow as possible.
That's perfectly fine. Alright, that's what I call done. Just some simple little maintenance. You just gotta we're just giving nature what it needs to do, what it does, and yeah, it'll all figure itself out. There's not really much to do in planted tanks that don't have CO2 or extremely high and expensive lighting. It's just sort of a low tech with a pretty intense light on it. And some say you can't grow dwarf hairgrass or carpeting plants in low tech tanks. I find that to be false. I've grown a carpeted dwarf hairgrass off of a 6,500 degree Kelvin, the white, like LED light, like a light bulb on a bendable lamp. It takes a little longer, but it does start to grow.
So for plants, is there overkill with it, or like is species dependent in a sense? Like certain species thrive in more vegetation than others.
So fish and shrimp wise, like especially nanofish and shrimp, they'll take as much plant density as they can get because it makes them feel secure. It makes them feel like they can escape any predation that comes their way. It makes them feel like there's also in very densely live planted scapes, like a lot of moss or just a lot of stem plants. There's usually a lot of microfauna where nanofish or fish fry, they can scavenge organics like ostracods or seed shrimp. or even like some more pest things like some pufferfish and loaches. They'll scavenge snails and planaria through it. Um, yeah, so but in some scapes, like where fish are a little bit bigger, there can definitely be overkill because it'll take away from their amount of swim room. So yeah, with when it comes to bigger fish, you want to leave some more open spaces, and also more rambunctious fish. They can hurt themselves on hardscape, like rocks and wood. They can break scales off or cut themselves. So there's overkill, but sometimes not. Like you said, it's species dependent. Yeah, I like to keep nanofish. So there's really no overkill when it comes to nanofish. They love it.
Because then you can get all that greed in there and make the tank like hang on. Million of them, like tiny ecosystem, right? Fish city.
When it comes to water chemistry, no, there's no overkill. The water will love as much plants as it can get.
Right. But that's about it. Just make sure you're doing a water change so it doesn't suck the nutrients out. Right.
Sometimes after it gets real settled in, you can just kind of let it just go, and you just got to dose a little bit of fertilizer, like a little bit of liquid fertilizer to keep it going, and you can go without water changes. But you really have to know what you're doing, because if you don't, you'll get a lot of TDS creep, which can burn plants because it's going to leave a lot of nutrients just free floating in the water while your plants may be growing. Your water chemistry may be getting really hard, and that can damage plants or fish. So you really got to know what you're doing, and it's best so no water change tanks are best suited for people that top off with RO systems, so there's no nutrients in the water. No water change systems don't really work well for tap water systems because of the amount of total dissolved solutes in the water, also known as TDS.
Turn that water off here in a second. We're gonna get like halfway. Where's that right now?
Yeah, about another half an inch.
You know what?
It's about good right now.
So pick up the camera and look and show them like a full around pan.
Alright, and this is just after maintenance. Still a brand new looking scape. We just broke up that dwarf hairgrass a little bit into about 16 different little bunches, so that way when it starts to spread, it'll send out runners in between and whatnot, so it'll start to fill in a good bit more, and after a while you won't be able to see in between all these little sections between all of them. Right now it already has a semi-carpeted look, but once it starts to spread, it'll kind of look like this little bunch, but all over, and then it'll get thicker and thicker as it keeps spreading. There's an Amano. And yeah, we just got rid of the hair algae-ridden wind-to-love leaves, and we replanted that sword that was in the back. It's kind of hard to see, but we got it done. And yeah. So planting tanks do go through an ugly phase, so don't be discouraged if you start a planting tank and get this brown diatom gunk going on, or any of this some biofilm on the wood. It's natural, and your inhabitants will usually figure it out. But when it comes to the algae blooms and diatoms, so diatoms are this brown spot algae that occurs on the leaves, and yeah, it'll figure itself out over time after you get your nutrients and your light balanced out. At first, once you start a planted tank, you're going to want to run your light pretty low. We have this all the way turned up just for better viewing, but we really keep the light around right here. We keep the light around right there, so it's a lot dimmer. It may not look dimmer on camera. We're not trying to get an insane algae bloom. We just turn the light up just for the sake of the video to have it fully bright and visible. And yeah, that's about it. Just some simple ongoings on with the tank. It'll get going. It'll get cracking here soon. I'm gonna take a shrimp net actually and just take out some of these free floating leaves and organics up top, so that way they don't break down and put a bunch of nutrients in the water. Just a little extra thing you do at the end. I'm just going to toss them to the side. Because if you just leave those floating, they will start to break down in the water, and it'll put a bunch of extra nutrients in the water, which you really want to avoid at the first for the first several months of a Planetscape, especially when you're using aqua soil in abundance like this tank is. It's already releasing a bunch of nutrients, so you don't just want to put more in. That's the point of doing these frequent water changes right in the beginning, and just leaving that stuff in there. It's not going to kill anything, but it's counterproductive to the entire goal that's trying to be achieved here. That's about it. Let's grab that one more little piece right there. All right. And put that light right on back. Alright, I think that's a good view. Alright, and that was about it. Just simple little thing, nothing big this time. Just want to take you guys with us along with the journey, so that way, just to teach people. We're still new at this ourselves, and we just want to take people along the journey, because I don't see a lot of documentation for people that are new at this and taking people along with their journey. And so we just want to do that same thing with you guys, and just show you guys that not everything's perfect, not everything goes to plan, but you just got to keep trying. And yeah, and it's not like anything's going catastrophically wrong here. We just don't want anybody who's starting up a planted tank to freak out at the brown diatoms or a little bit of leaf die off, or the plants start to melt and disintegrate. It happens, But as long as you give Mother Nature what it needs to do what Mother Nature does, your planted tank is going to be just fine. There may be a little bit of algae, but there's remedies to that. Like if you get insane algae outbreaks, like some cyanobacteria, or like some really bad hair algae or blackbeard algae outbreaks, there's always some sea chem excel you can throw in the water, and that's just basic glutaraldehyde. It can be a little rough on plants, especially more delicate plants, but it really, really tanks algae. And but that's like a last resort. Usually, you just want to try and take down your lights a little bit, do some big water changes to get extra nutrients out of the water, and just create a routine that your plants seem to like and seem to grow well in, and just kind of keep going with that. And yeah, this is Armando here with Pendley's Plentiful Pets, Arizona Fish Rescue based out of Kingman, Arizona. And I just want to take you guys with me today. Thank you.